Welcome to That's Based. This week on That's Based, we're going over some of Donald Trump's wins. We're talking the Democrats in shambles, prescription drug prices, property taxes, John Fetterman, South African refugees, an interesting way for the state of New York to try to go ahead and fight their inflation problem over there. An update on the anti-child sex trafficking bill in California. Some Democrats over in New Jersey get a little wild, and a whole bunch more this week on That's Based. But first, word from our sponsors. Big shout out to our friends over at Blood of Tyrants Wines. Drink bloodoftyrants.com with the promo code BASED, B-A-S-E-D, like the title of the show. We'll save you 10% off your order at the checkout. They got two types of wine, both red and white, along with the Liquid Freedom energy drink. If you go to drinkbloodoftyrants.com with the promo code BASED, B-A-S-E-D, you'll save 10% off your order at the checkout. Well, reporting from somewhere underground, we're laughing our way through the end of days, and brought to you by Outlaw Streamers. Stockholm Mia, the red face of white supremacy, is here with us. As always on a Saturday morning, how is it going today?
Good.
It's good. She's crushing it. Like I said, we got a whole bunch of stuff to talk about this week, but I figure we should start it off with the current state of the left.
Excuse me, it's ma'am.
All right, this week on the current state of the left, we have got three contestants for my favorite game, Which Liberal Most Belongs in a Mental Institution. This first one here is from, actually, we've got four. There's only three that are graphics. I'll do the first ones from Sarah McBride, the Congress quote-unquote woman from Delaware. Sarah McBride is the first ever trans woman elected to the United States Congress. And Sarah McBride had some opinions on Trump's relabeling of the Gulf of Mexico to the Gulf of America. Do you have any guesses what Sarah McBride might have said, Mia, about the Gulf of Mexico?
No.
She said that it was ridiculous and dumb to change the name of the Gulf of Mexico to the Gulf of America because it was always called the Gulf of Mexico and we can't just change it. If only Congressman McBride could apply that logic to other areas of his life, he might be a little bit less mentally ill.
I'm a man.
All right, let's go to the first one here. Is this Tim Walz's daughter? No, not Tim Walz's daughter. Excuse me. Let's do the Reddit post here. It's just a picture. Go ahead, pull this one up here. This is from Trans on Reddit. As I just told my wife I'm male to female trans. She's bawling. I've destroyed her. I hate myself so much right now. This is unbearable. Now, here's where this gets unpredictable. You wouldn't believe this next part that I'm about to read about this guy. I'm 44 and unemployed. No one ever would have bought that part unless I told them. I know some of you are probably still struggling to come to terms with that. So I have 3 kids and I've just dropped the bomb on my life. Oh Christ, what have I done? This is unbearable. By the way, unbearable is spelled wrong. She stopped. Edit number 1. She stopped crying and is now livid with me, which is understandable, and wants me to move out of our house ASAP. We bought the house together and are still paying the mortgage. She can't kick me out in the state of Nevada, but this hurts beyond words. I fear for my kids being left alone with her in her enraged state. Don't you love how they always find a way to play the victim and make the other people the bad guy? I'm worried for my kids for being left. What is your wife supposed to be like right now? I love the gaslighting never stops with these people. What is she supposed to, like, get up and chest bump you? High five the kids? No, I'll tell you what, I don't care how upset your wife is. She should be upset. That's a normal human reaction. She's, at best case scenario, she's not a lesbian. She didn't marry a woman. She certainly didn't marry a grown man who thinks he is a woman. Your wife has every right to be upset, and the children are 100% better off with your wife than they are with you. And that's rare coming from me, because we all know how I feel about single moms. Mia, what do you think would be do you think she's right to be enraged here, or do you think we should be worried about the kids in the enraged state?
I think she has a right to be enraged.
Yeah. I mean, okay, how about this? What would fuck you up mentally more? Finding out your spouse had been having a long-time affair, or finding out your spouse now wanted to live as a woman?
Easily finding out they want to live as a woman.
Okay, so I figured out which order I was going to break these two things to you. No, I mean, listen, here's the thing, guys. If you are a man sitting here listening to this show and you feel for some reason something's off in your brain, some chemicals are misfiring in your brain, and you want to live as a woman, and you're married, God forbid you have kids, guess what, sweetheart? You get to bury that shit into the pit of your soul for the rest of your life. Because you're no longer just living for yourself. That ship has sailed. You should have done that before you brought other unwilling parties into the equation. Now that you've got a wife and kids that depend on you, you better buck up and deal with it. Go see a therapist, whatever it is you got to do. You don't get to live as a woman now. You lost that. Should we call it a privilege? It really is a privilege because in other countries you don't get to do this crap. You lost that privilege when you decided to get married and have children. Now you get to deal with it. Just how it works. It's selfish to do anything else. And you don't get to be selfish when there are other people counting on you. By the way, are we surprised this guy's unemployed? So he's so here's what's going on. Here's how I imagine this marriage dynamic goes, okay? Wife goes off to work, kids go off to school. This guy sits there on Reddit in his wife's underwear, gooning all over himself, pretending he's a woman during the day. Do we have any doubt that that's how that marriage dynamic goes? Do you anything you'd like to add? Do you think there's anything else we're missing there?
No. I think if he has the whole day to himself, just walk around the house like a woman and leave it at that.
Or get a job.
Maybe he's a stay-at-home dad.
Stay at home. Oh, God. Could you imagine that freak show being at home alone with the kids all day? Listen, again, you're not going to find a show on the air that's more openly anti-single mom than this one. But, oh, my God, you found a way to make me say, hey, those kids are going to be better off with the single mom than with you in the picture at this point. Better off. That's just the audacity of people. That's worse than cheating, in my opinion. Or it's a tie. They're both deceptive. They're both selfish. They're both dishonest. But something about that, it brings another everyone's considered the possibility that at some point in their life they could be cheated on, right? That's crossed everyone's mind if it hasn't actually happened to them. That doesn't cross somebody's mind that could happen to them. You just brought on a whole new thing of trust issues with that person by doing that to her, and you should be ashamed of yourself for it. Do you think the guy that wrote that listens to the show?
100%.
Big fan.
He's your biggest fan.
Big fan. Yeah, maybe we'll get through to him. Something tells me we don't have a lot of married men on the show that like to sit around and goon in their wives' underwear all day, though. I sincerely hope that that's not a significant portion or any portion of our listener base. Okay, let's go to the next one here. Speaking of men who like to wear women's underwear, let's check in on Tim Walls' daughter and what she had to say about running. Go ahead.
Running as an act is political, and you know who taught me that? Tim Walls.
Well, the retard?
The first thing he told me when I was first getting into it in high school, granted, I don't really do it as much anymore. I go in spurts, but when I was first getting into it in high school, the first thing he told me was that running is a privilege, and being a part of the running community is a privilege that not all people have access to. Whether you do it recreationally or you race a lot or you are, at the elite level, it is a privilege. Whether it be you just having the time to run, access to funds to buy the gear, access to, healthy quality foods that fuel you as you're training and as you're running, access to, a safe, stable situation that allows you to be in a good mental state to be able to run.
What?
All of those things are hard to come by. And if you have them and are a part of the running community, that is a privilege. And that, again, was the first thing he taught me. So I don't really understand how platforming and administration that cuts mental health services, cuts funding and literal shipments to food banks is entirely hurting the climate, because you can get into running in the climate. That's a whole nother thing. Cutting, funds to climate initiatives and actively hurting the planet in that way. Sending people away without due process, villainizing minorities. All of those things are preventing people from getting into the running community, which is what I thought Kate's platform was for. But it's also just damaging to society as a whole. We should not be normalizing these people. I'm not going to tell anyone what to do with their page, but I think it's insulting to my dad to leave a certain video pinned, especially when he stands for quite literally the opposite of what this administration is doing. You don't get to both sides this. It's not both sides. We are quite literally talking about good versus evil here, and I'm just really disappointed the whole thing happened. I was there when that video with my dad was filmed, and I was very impressed with Kate, and this is just extremely disappointing.
Turn this off. I can't listen to this idiot anymore. Okay, thank God it's over. Oh my God, that was the dumbest. I didn't watch that full video. This is my first time seeing it. That's the dumbest thing I think I've ever heard in my entire life. I'm not even kidding. Guys, we are so lucky that family of idiots didn't make it to the White House. Oh my God. Oh my God. I don't even know where to begin. First off, the audacity to call running something you can quite literally do for free, something that's for privileged people, is laughable, and your entire argument should be dismissed right there, right? She goes on to say, she doesn't explain how, but somehow running is also bad for the climate. These are the same people that are telling us that cars are bad for the climate. So if cars are bad for the climate, how is the alternative? What, am I just supposed to sit here in a shell and die? That seems to be the only alternative. I just can never go anywhere. I just have to sit here. That's the alternative. What is deportation and welfare have to do with running? To get the right food, to fuel yourself to run. Really? I know people who eat McDonald's every day and run 1.5 miles in the morning. I don't know what you're talking about. Listen, running might be hard for your fat fuck father. Okay, maybe that's why he says it's privilege, so he can excuse why he never gets off his fat ass and exercises. But it's not that difficult. You start off, if you can't go more than 1/4 mile, you do 1/4 mile until you get into better shape, then you do 1/2 mile, then you do 1 mile, and before you know it, you're doing like 2 to 2.5 miles a day. It's not that hard. If you're lifting weights, you might want to cut back on it a little bit and do like 1/2 mile to 1 mile a day so you don't kill all your gains. But we're getting into the nitty gritty right now. Running is one of the few things that you literally have to have no privilege for, and you can just start doing it for free. The fact this woman wants to sit here and talk about privilege when she is the epitome of privilege, the fact that you can get on your $1,200 smartphone on the internet that comes in from a satellite in a country with free speech and complain about something as mundane as running and try to compare it to other issues going on around the world and tie it to other hot-button political issues and refer to it as a matter of, and I quote, good and evil. Good and evil running. What are we doing here? These are the stupidest people in the world. The stupidest people in the world. Oh, we got one more. This is on a college campus. This woman saw a Trump sign, and she didn't run away from it because that would have made her privileged. But she saw a Trump sign, and she decided to react to it the way that so many liberals do.
With the Trump sign, she doesn't like the Trump sign.
She's totally composed. This is. Yeah, she's chill. This isn't a breakdown. This is theatrics.
She's anti-Trump.
It's not funny, it's art.
This apparently is an art, folks. This an art major. She's an art major. Art is really going downhill.
It sounded like the mountain lions last night.
Oh, yes. We had mountain lions outside of our house last night screaming. It's a mating call. The mountain lions were looking to get it on outside of our bedroom window it was probably, I think it was a little bit further away than it sounded. But anyway, yes, she did sound like the mountain lions. That's a great point. Wow. First off, I mean, it's one thing to have a mental breakdown and start screaming uncontrollably because you have no control over your emotions. I don't agree with that. I think you should get help, but I understand why it happens. She was doing that with a sound mind, quote unquote, sound mind right there. She felt that that was the best way to get her point across and draw more people into her bullshit ideology. I mean, think about that for a second. And honestly, that in its own right there, thinking that that's an effective measure of countering opposing viewpoints is arguably even more insane than just losing control of your emotions and screaming bloody murder. The fact that you, with a somewhat sound mind, can go, you know what's going to get people on board and on my side on this issue? And against these lunatic Trump supporters is if I just start screaming bloody murder right in the middle of this college campus to the point people have to walk over and ask if I need help. And I turn to them calmly and go, oh, no, I'm fine. I'm good. Lunatics. All right, so now it's time for the question. Which liberal most belongs in a mental institution? This may be our toughest choice of the day. We need audience help. Drop a comment. Which liberal do you think most belongs in a mental institution? Mia, who do you think? Do we give it to Tim Walz' daughter? Do we give it to the guy who betrayed his wife? Do we give it to Representative McBride? Or do we give it to the mountain lion here, the banshee?
See, I was thinking Tim Walz's daughter, but I don't know. This mountain lion girl is pretty crazy.
They're pretty bad.
But I think overall I'm going to have to go with Tim Walz's daughter.
Tim Walz's daughter was the most absurd of them all. I agree. This was the closest we've ever had because honestly, all four of them could have taken it. You could have given it to any of them, but I agree. I think Tim Walz's daughter just drifted into such absurdity that we have no choice but to hand over the which liberal most belongs in a mental institution award for this week over to her. So there you go. Tim Walz's daughter, congrats. Can you play the Family Feud music for her here? So she gets her award, Tim Walz's daughter. That's been Current State of the Left. Stay tuned. We got a whole bunch of stuff to get into with the lead topic. We'll be back in like 3 seconds. All right, before we get into the lead topic, our lead topic this week is brought to you by Tactilian, TACTILIAN.com with the promo code BASED. BASED, like the title of the show, will save you not 5, not 10, but 15% off your order at the checkout for gifts for the Patriot in your life. They've got apparel, they've got home and office decor, they've got vehicle accessories, they've even got something for Fido. Side note, does anyone name their dog Fido anymore, or is that just like a stereotype? Point I'm making is they got shit for your dog as well. A portion of the proceeds is going to go to help build homes for wounded veterans. It's founded by a former member of law enforcement, and if you use the promo code BASED, BASED, like the title of the show, you're going to save 15% off your order at the checkout. Go, excuse me. Great ad read. I start choking on my own spit in the middle of it. Tactilian.com, TACTILIAN.com, promo code BASED, BASED. Like the title of the show, I'm going to save you 15% off your order at the checkout, and it'll also help pay my doctor's bills for when I have to go to the urgent care to get the spit jogged out of my mouth. All right, this week it is time. We had a show a couple of weeks ago where I was like, hey, we need to talk about our President Donald Trump. It's been a rough couple of months, and while it wasn't all bad, I made a very clear point, which is that he needed to start stacking some wins. Even if they weren't big wins, we needed to start seeing a couple layups or free throws go in, right? So maybe then we can start hitting the big three-point shots and the buzzer beaters. Well, this week we started to see some of those. But before I get into those, I saw a very, very telling poll that came out on his approval rating. So among dog owners, Donald Trump has an approval rating of 47% and a disapproval rating of 46%, a net positive. Among cat owners, He has an approval rating of 40% and a disapproval rating of 53%. Now, the majority of those cat owners were just Taylor Swift in her different eras that had been polled there. But I think it's telling that, well, I mean, let's be honest here. Can we do some stereotypes? The type of people that own dogs happen to be more sociable, more healthy, more, dare I say it, stable, happy in their lives and with what's going on in life. The types of people that own dogs. Whereas cat owners are lonely, middle-aged women that smell like urine.
Dogs just bring joy and cats just bring evil.
Cats don't do anything. I'm not saying all cat owners are that way. Of course not. I mean, 40% of them obviously aren't. But for the most part, when you think of these bitter, childless women sitting alone, just seething on the internet over something the president did that's honestly probably taken out of context, do you think somebody who's going on daily walks with their dog, or do you think of somebody who's got about 15 cats pissing all over the couch? Which one do you think? I mean, honestly, there's a stereotype there for a reason, because it's fucking true. Can you go over to the levels on the side and check that? Up to the, no, top. Scroll up. Yeah, just scroll. Oh, I just wanted to make sure my mic was going. Okay, cool. Well, Donald Trump, like I said, has stacked up a bunch of wins this week. The first of those wins is he survived the impeachment efforts by the Indian rep Sri Thanagar from Michigan. Sri Thanagar, he survived the impeachment attempts. Now, play this first video of Sri. Sri took to the streets, and this is his whole brand. He's making a big deal about this. Remember, Sri is the one who owned a bunch of laboratories in New Jersey, and they just left all the beagles there to starve to death rather than putting them up for adoption when they got shut down in their animal testing rings. So here's Sri at one of his press conferences. He's very upset about all of us that keep making fun of him, and we should totally stop.
But they talk about my hair. They talk about my hair. They talk about my appearance. They talk about where I was born.
You look like a pedophile.
They talk about everything, my looks. They talk about my age. They talk about why I should be deported back to the country where I was born. They talk about my past business dealings, and they distort
killing puppies.
My business record. They do everything.
So here's my question for you. Was the cat that crawled up and died on that guy's head one of the animals he was doing experiments on? Do you think he just got that and he's like, you know what, this'll do. Fuck it. Well, he got caught by this guy. Okay, so he's worth like millions of dollars. He's a sitting representative. You'd think with those two things, you have to have like some level of intelligence, right? You can't be stupid. You can be stupid and do one of those things, but very rarely do you see someone fall their way into successful businesses and being an elected representative. That is a very rare occurrence, but I think we might have found it with this guy because he did a random. First off, if you're a sitting congressman, maybe you're not smart enough to do it, but you should find people and put them around you who are smart enough to tell you, hey, don't do man on the street interviews with YouTubers. But this guy went ahead and did it, and go ahead and check out how it went here.
I don't know. What are the 5 Grosse Points cities? Well, look, I'm not here to answer a quiz. I'm here to say that I'm going to fight for the people of Detroit. I'm going to fight for my constituents. And Grosse Pointe. And all of the Grosse Points and all of Taylor and every E-course. Every part of the 13th district. Okay, I'm just do this real quick. Grosse Pointe Park, Grosse Pointe Woods, Grosse Pointe Farms, and Grosse Pointe Shores. Okay. You know, on your campaign filings, it says occupation. Yours says United States government. Aren't you employed by the people of the United States? Yeah, I am. Okay, you fix that one. Okay, and finally, you're getting nailed with this one. The beagles. You abandoned the beagles, left them to die in their cages at your pharmaceutical testing. See, look,
Yeah, he loves animals. He loves animals so much he put one on his head after it died. He couldn't, he was one of the cat owners that got pulled in the Donald Trump approval rating test.
They're eating
survey.
the dogs.
Yeah, he couldn't let his cat go, so he put it on his head after it died. Gross points the district he represents, and that idiot couldn't name the 5 cities. He couldn't name the cities that he represents. Even Don Bacon in his drunken stupor would be like, Omaha, Ralston, La Vista, Papillion, right? Even Don Bacon could string those together, but not Shree. Shree may actually be the dumbest sitting representative in the United States. Now, his impeachment efforts of Donald Trump, usually when you hear impeachment, once upon a time, people actually did things wrong to get impeached. You actually had to commit some type of crime like treason or espionage or, lying to Congress about the intern who's giving you blowjobs under your desk in Bill Clinton's case. But not Shree. Shree didn't even bother to trump up some charges, no pun intended there. He didn't bother to falsely accuse him of a crime or find some type of ridiculous, unhinged, blue and left-wing conspiracy to accuse him of. No. Shree just decided to say, we're going to impeach this guy because he has low poll numbers. His approval rating's low. That's grounds for impeachment. No, it's not, sweetheart. And you found that out rather quickly because your bill was voted no. Here's the thing. This guy's an ass. And he's a stupid ass, but he's a stupid ass with money, which means he can keep throwing his name out here. I say we just let him talk because he's doing his cause more harm than good. He's a more tame version of that lady on the college campus we played earlier that was screaming at the top of her lungs, bloody murder. He looks like a fool. Nobody takes him seriously. He talks like a fool, and he can't back up anything he says. He doesn't even know what the hell he's talking about. He's horrible in front of a camera, and it's not just the accent. There's people from other countries that have thick accents and do fantastic in front of the camera. He's just socially inept, and he's stupid. I'm trying to figure out he's got to be like generational wealth, right? How does this guy have money? How does he have money and hold elected office in this country? Something's going on here. Well, okay, so real wins, not just this bullshit impeachment nonsense that got struck down in Congress. Real wins. Donald Trump did get a tariff deal worked out with the UK. Now, the UK, while we don't do a ton of business with them, again, what did I tell you? We need to start making layups. We need to start making these easy shots, and the big ones are going to come a little bit quicker once we start doing those. Plus, it's nice to not be in a trade war with a country that is at least supposed to be one of our closest allies, right? The Brexit thing, and we're somewhat on the same page with the UK. So he got a trade deal worked out with the UK. This isn't going to be anything shocking or phenomenal like that, but it was good to get that done. That's one more country out of the way, and it's more symbolic than it actually helps, but we'll take the victories where they come. Now, the next thing, CPI, the Consumer Price Index, which is how the government measures inflation. Now, this is different from the Trueflation rate, which is an independent source that doesn't go off bullshit government and administration, regardless of which party is in control. Off their statistics, this is not Trueflation, but CPI was at 2.3%, which was its lowest since 2021. That's right, even government inflation numbers are at the lowest they've been in the last 4 years. Prices, we got an update on prices from CNBC. So this is not coming from InfoWars, not coming from Fox. I didn't pull it out of my ass. This is a liberal source that said this. They're even having to admit this. Egg prices fell 12.7% in April. That is their biggest single month drop since 1984. 1984, since back when Ronald Reagan's administration was distributing crack to the inner cities. That's the biggest drop in egg prices in the last 41 years in this country. They also said gasoline dropped 10% since he took office. Tomatoes, 8%. Lettuce, 5%. TVs, 9%. Car and truck rental, 9%. Dishes and flatware for your home, 11%. So prices are going down. This is the opposite of what they told us was going to happen. When he put these tariffs in, all we heard is, oh my God, it's all going to go to hell. Inflation's going to go through the roof. The markets are going to bottom out. Well, by the way, about the market thing, and we'll get into that in a little bit, the Dow has officially wiped out all of the quote-unquote Liberation Day losses. That's it. All the losses that people sustained when those tariffs went in the beginning of April, we made them all back. Made all of them back in a month and a half. And you guys were ready to burn the country to the ground because the stock market had a couple bad days. Remember what I told you? I told you I'm not a financial advisor, but I bet by the 4th of July we'll be hitting record highs once again, and the narrative will have shifted from the stock market is the only thing that matters back to what we saw during COVID, which was, well, the stock market isn't an accurate indicator of the economy as a whole. We can't just go off of that. It's crazy how that flips back and forth. Remember when the economy was in the toilet, you had banks collapsing, inflation was through the roof, and, they were lying about the jobs numbers during the Biden administration, and they were just kept telling you, look at the stock market, look at the stock market, look at the stock market. Well, all those numbers have chilled out, but the stock market dipped for a little bit, and that's all they wanted to talk about. It's crazy how the stock market only matters depending on the current political climate. So here's my question. What are they going to do when inflation continues to drop, when unemployment continues to drop, when these tariff situations get figured out, and the stock market's up? What lie are they going to tell then? What spin are they going to tell then? Are they going to continue to say, don't believe your lying eyes? We know the prices are down. We know the wages are up. We know unemployment's down. We know the stock market's up. But don't believe your lying eyes. What you're seeing is not really what you're seeing. It's actually much worse than you think. Much worse. CNN published an article the other day. They said Trump has falsely claimed egg prices are dropping for the last several months. Today, that falsehood became a reality. What are you people talking about? Oh my God. It's just like I've told you guys, the same people who spent 4 years telling you that everything was fine and fucking dandy under the Biden administration in that economy are gonna spend the next 4 years telling you that the Trump economy is burning the country to the ground. As always, the truth is typically somewhere in the middle. It's just up to you to determine where that is. So they told us that everything was, inflation was going to go through the roof. The markets were cooked, all that when these tariffs came in. Turned out that wasn't the case. There was an initial shock from the market. People might have spazzed out a little bit, but all it took was a month and a half for things to calm down. Now, had he come in and said, hey, we're going to use these tariffs as a revenue generator, this is a permanent thing, it's not, that might have been a different story. But that's not what he's doing. And you've seen a lot of retailers like Home Depot, like Walmart, like Target, like Amazon, have all come out and said, because Amazon backtracked on their tariff rhetoric from a couple weeks ago that we talked about. All these retailers have come out and said, hey, we're on board with the president here. This needs, these trade deficits, the way we're getting taken advantage of around the world needs to stop. We're on board with the president. We're going to cut into corporate trips. We're going to cut into bonuses, things like that, so that we don't have to raise our prices on the consumer. We're willing to play ball here. We've got enough cuts we can make elsewhere that we can do this. And that's exactly what you're seeing. So all these corporations that the left has spent the last couple of years pandering to and talking about how great they are and worshiping at the feet of, they're on board with this as well. So this isn't just Trump being a lunatic here. There's some actual backing from some significant players in the American business, or in business in America. He issued an executive order as well, saying if you're in this country illegally, we're going to give you a choice here. We got a website you can go to, and you can self-deport. We will pay for a one-way ticket out of the country for you to leave. We won't deport you. We won't deal with the ICE agents coming to your house or your job or whatever. You can go onto this portal online, fill your information out, and the U.S. government will buy you a plane ticket to leave the country. Which is, by the way, significantly cheaper than going out and deporting these people. Which airline do you think they used? Mia, which one? Do you think they sent them out on Southwest?
Spirit.
Probably. I mean, for the price, I can't imagine they have to. Well, so here's my question. If they're going out on Spirit, is the government also going to pay for the baggage, or did they have to pay for that out of pocket? Because I've never flown Spirit. I'm not suicidal, but isn't that Spirit's big deal? Is the tickets are like $40, but you got to pay for every bag some absurd amount. Solid if you're going to Vegas and you just got to carry on, from what I understand. But I'm not a plane snob, by the way. I'm not. She's the plane and hotel snob. You didn't do comedy on the road for years, okay? You do comedy on the road. You learn to settle for hotels. But I'm not I've just been terrified of flying most of my life, and I've slowly overcome that fear over the last 4 or 5 years. She's made me fly, and we've only ever flown Southwest because that's where she has the credit card through. So that's what I fly. I don't know. I don't know anything different. Although we may have to reevaluate this upcoming trip if Southwest is really doing assigned seating and jacking all the prices up, because I'm not about to get raked over the coals for fucking $800 to fly anywhere. I will get on the Death Wish plane with Spirit or Frontier. We're going to talk about Frontier Airlines a little bit later on in the show. He got the big one. This is the big one everyone's talking about. They had a meeting with China, and China finally came to the table, said, you know what? This is ridiculous. Let's not fight in front of the kids. Let's talk things out in private. They had a somewhat quick meeting earlier in the week with China. The U.S. announced they were going to lower tariffs on Chinese goods from 145% to 30%, while retaining a 10% baseline and 20% fentanyl-related tariff on China. Fair. Well, China reduced tariffs on U.S. goods from 125% to 10%. That sounds like a good deal for the U.S. So we're on top now, right? We're on top. Like, we're making more money off of them, and we're not getting pushed around by them. China also suspended non-tariff countermeasures imposed since April 2nd, 2025. So this is a 90-day pause in the tariffs if they don't get anything worked out. So this is a small victory again. It's not a slam dunk, but it's heading in the right direction. At least everyone, myself included, was worried, hey, the Chinese government doesn't exactly have a long track record of giving a shit about its people. They're the ones who are going to take on the majority of the problems from these tariffs. I don't know if they're going to be willing to come to the table, but, you know, we're hearing about mass protests and layoffs and people losing their homes and jobs over in China. Obviously, the Chinese government went, you know what, we should probably nip this in the bud and at least show some willingness to come to the table here. So this is a positive development here either way. We'll see where it goes. I worry that we may have forfeited our negotiating power by doing this, because China needs us more than we need them. You got to think about it from a business perspective. Does the business need the customer, or does the customer need the business? Depends what it is. For manufacturing, something like this, the business definitely needs the customer more than vice versa. So we'll see. Did we forfeit our negotiating power here by taking the pressure off them? That's my question. Like, is this 90 days going to come and go and it's going to blow? Like, what are we going to do here? But I like the progress we're making. So that's the big win. Polymarket released U.S. recession odds. In late April, they were at 70%. Now they're at 39, so they've almost been cut in half. Polymarket, which called the election to a T, by the way, and they've been dead on several other bets. You could bet on Polymarket on the Pope, on who the next Pope was going to be. Don't we think it's a little perverted to bet on the Pope? Listen, I love throwing down a $5 parlay on bullshit, trying to get some generational wealth as much as the next guy. But even I draw the line at gambling on the next Pope. Do you think there's a Polymarket odds on when Jesus is going to come back to? Like, how far are we going to take this? And how do I get paid out? Do I have to sit here over the 7-year war if I bet on Jesus coming back? Do I not go to heaven? What good is currency in heaven? What good is currency here in the apocalypse if I don't go to heaven because I was gambling on when Jesus came back? These are the questions I need answered, and these are the deep questions we ponder on this show every week, Monday, Wednesday, and Saturday. You should check it out if this is your first time joining us here. What Polymarket said, the U.S. recession odds are at their lowest level since March. You got a 39% chance, drop from 70 to 39. We told you that regardless of who was president, there was a chance we'd see a recession in the summer. It looks like we may avoid that thanks to some great work by Donald Trump, and I'm going to give credit where credit is due, the chairman of the Federal Reserve, Jerome Powell, for not going crazy on the interest rates despite pressure from the Trump administration, because everybody wants low interest rates. When interest rates are low, companies invest more, houses get bought. Well, you know how it works. He also had a victory in Saudi Arabia. He walked out to Lee Greenwood's God Bless the USA in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia, and the entire crowd gave him a standing ovation. He let the whole song play out. I mean, the fact that Saudi Arabians stood, a country that has no respect for us, may have played a role in 9/11, stood for the entirety of God Bless the USA by Lee Greenwood, giving him a standing ovation. The rest of the world knows daddy's back home. Okay? And I mean, how could it not be considered a win when Trump got a royal welcome like this the moment he arrived to Saudi Arabia? Check this out. That's right. The Saudis built Trump a mobile McDonald's to welcome him because they wanted to greet him with his favorite meal. Could you I mean, that's royalty treatment to you. Could you think of something of a better welcoming, Mia? Is that what you want for your 30th birthday?
That is what I want for my 30th
I just
birthday.
roll a mobile McDonald's outside the house.
Yes, that sounds amazing. Oh my goodness, that was the greatest thing I've ever seen.
We'll roll a mobile. If RFK hasn't banned it next year, I'll roll a mobile McDonald's outside of the house for you for your 30th.
Just a little fountain drink thing of Coke, just never ending.
Yep.
McDonald's Coke. Oh
So,
my gosh.
McDonald's Coke fountain. I wonder. You know, they got the chocolate fountains. I wonder if I could rent like one of the chocolate fountains and just fill it with McDonald's Coke. I wonder if I could do that. Interesting. Interesting. Well, so the crowd stood the entire time. He also gave this speech in Saudi Arabia. Go ahead and check this out. And this is refreshing from a United States president. We're not going to play the whole speech, but we got a 2-minute excerpt of it. I want to show you guys. Go ahead.
The transformations have been unbelievably remarkable. Before our eyes, a new generation of leaders is transcending the ancient conflicts of tired divisions of the past and forging a future where the Middle East is defined by commerce, not chaos, where it exports technology, not terrorism, and where people of different nations, religions, and creeds are building cities together, not bombing each other out of existence. We don't want that. And it's crucial for the wider world to note this great transformation has not come from Western interventionists or flying people in beautiful planes giving you lectures on how to live and how to govern your own affairs. No, the gleaming marvels of Riyadh and Abu Dhabi were not created by the so-called nation builders, neocons, or liberal nonprofits like those who spent trillions and trillions of dollars failing to develop Kabul, Baghdad, so many other cities. Instead, the birth of a modern Middle East has been brought by the people of the region themselves, the people that are right here, the people that have lived here all their lives, developing your own sovereign countries, pursuing your own unique visions and charting your own destinies in your own way. It's really incredible what you've done. In the end, the so-called nation builders wrecked far more nations than they built, and the interventionists were intervening in complex societies that they did not even understand themselves. They told you how to do it, but they had no idea how to do it themselves. Peace, prosperity, and progress ultimately came not from a radical rejection of your heritage, but rather from embracing your national traditions and embracing that same heritage that you love so dearly.
You guys have no idea how refreshing that is to hear from an American president who publicly calls out the neocons and nation builders. I mean, think about this. This has been my entire life. My entire life. You know, we had Clinton in the 90s. Then in the 2000s, you have the Bush administration that never saw war it didn't like. Then after that, you had the Obama administration that campaigned on peace and non-interventionism. But my God, they were worse than the Bushes somehow. Then you went to Donald Trump, and we thought, okay, in 2016, maybe we're actually going to get somewhere. But he made the mistake, which he admits he made the mistake, of surrounding himself with a lot of those same neocons that were tied to the Bush administration. Then you go to Biden. We all know how that went. And now we're finally out of the woods. He's surrounded himself, for the most part, not 100%, but doing well, for the most part, with people who don't want to get involved in all these useless foreign wars. And you've got an American president going over saying, for the first time in my lifetime, not just my adult lifetime, my lifetime, going over and saying nation building doesn't work. When the U.S. government puts its fingers into the affairs of the Middle East, we make things worse. When you look at the countries we've gotten involved with, countries like Afghanistan, countries like Syria, countries like Yemen, and when you look at the countries we leave alone, countries like the UAE, countries like Saudi Arabia, the difference is pretty clear cut. When we get involved, we fuck things up. When we leave them alone and let them deal with their own problems, which, by the way, were never ours to begin with, those countries thrive. And an American president saying that is historical, because we've never had someone actually admit to that that's in any real position of power to affect the way foreign policy is run in this country. Refreshing. Now, we'll see if he puts his money where his mouth is, and that continues over the next 3 years. Believe me, we're going to hold him accountable either way here on this show. On top of that, you had India-Pakistan kickoff a week ago. It was the shortest yet smelliest war of the last decade. India-Pakistan, they've got this weird rivalry the way that Nebraska and Iowa do. It's just like this border war. We have to hate each other, even though we're kind of the same thing, if we're being honest here. But they had this rivalry, and it got real. India fired rockets into Pakistan, and Pakistan went, okay, you want to do that? Cool. We're calling a meeting. And they asked Vice President Vance about that. And again, this was refreshing. He said this is fundamentally none of our business, which at the time it wasn't. If these countries want to have skirmishes, it's not our business. But it became our business and everybody else's business on Earth when Pakistan said, cool, India wants to shoot missiles into Pakistan. We're going to call up all of our top nuclear officers and have a discussion about whether or not we're going to drop the big one for the first time since Hiroshima. Then the administration went, India or Pakistan, or anywhere for that matter, getting nuked would have devastating effects on the world economy, which is already somewhat fragile. We're making gains, slowly trying to fix it. We don't want this situation that's totally out of our control, and it really does have nothing to do with us, to derail all of that work. So let's go help them out. And the Trump administration, within 24 hours, mediated a ceasefire between India and Pakistan, nearly went nuclear until they got involved and they prevented it. Now they're talking. That same poly market that we were just talking about, Donald Trump just skyrocketed to be the odds-on favorite to win the 2025 Nobel Peace Prize. Mia, think for a second. The meltdowns, we're going to be able to do a full episode of just liberal meltdowns again if they give Trump the Nobel Peace Prize. That'll be a whole 2-hour show with just people freaking out. And I'll tell you what, this last development we're going to cover on here for the lead topic might solidify that even further. Because Iran said this week, Iran, the people that say death to America, they hold death to America street parties over there. It's like their whole identity is hating America. Like, you know, those people, they have like way too much of their identity is tied into hating something, and it's kind of weird. You see like grown men that way too much focus on how much they hate Taylor Swift, or people who hate like Tom Brady way too much. It's just kind of weird. Like, it's okay to dislike things and have a distaste for it, but they just go over that line. Well, Iran has that for the United States. And Iran said this week they would commit to never making nuclear weapons and getting rid of their stockpiles of highly enriched uranium, which can be weaponized into nuclear weapons, and agree to only enrich uranium to lower levels needed for civilian use, such as power plants, along with allowing international inspectors to supervise the process in exchange for the immediate lifting of all economic sanctions on Iran. Now, I don't think we're going to get all economic sanctions lifted. However, the fact that they would even suggest that is a step in the right direction. They're not going to get all the sanctions lifted because there's a lot of human rights violations going over in Iran, and it's not a country that we should trust. But if Iran is willing to come to the table on denuclearization, that would be a massive step toward peace in the Middle East. A lot of what you're seeing over on with Israel and Palestine would come to a close on its own if we got that. So I think this is a very important development. And if this happens, they got to give Trump the Nobel Peace Prize. I think he gets the Nobel Peace Prize just for what he's doing over in India, Pakistan. You know what Trump should do, Mia? Trump should tier this, okay? I mean, he stopped the nuclear war with India, Pakistan. You have to give him the Nobel Peace Prize this year. There's no way around it. But I think over the next couple years, I think in 2026, he should stop the Ukraine and Russia war and then win the 2026 Nobel Peace Prize. In 2027, he should stop the Israel-Gaza war and win the 2027 Nobel Peace Prize. And then in 2028, he can get Iran to denuclearize and win the 2028. Wouldn't that be the ultimate troll if he went back to back to back to back? I mean, if he became the Tom Brady of Nobel Peace Prizes at his second term, what an accomplishment that would be. Like, you talk about, okay, you're a two-term president now. What? Some people think you won 3 elections. I don't know, but what else do you have left to accomplish? How about 4 Nobel Peace Prizes in a row? If you just space it out right and sandbag enough, you might be able to pull it off. Anyway, that's been our lead topic. Stay tuned. We got store brand TMZ and plenty of stuff for trending this week coming right up. All right, and it's time for store brand TMZ. Take us away, Justin Bieber. All right, well, this time for store brand TMZ. I need to fix that stupid text down there. This time for store brand TMZ, we've only got 2 topics for you this week. It's a little bit of an expedited store brand TMZ, but there's a new hit song in Thailand. It's trending, blowing up over there, topping the charts. They're playing it in all the bars, and check out this video. Some girls in the club singing along with it. You get us yanked. I hate how catchy it is. I found myself humming it the other day. Bia, is it not the fucking catchiest song you've heard in 2025?
It unfortunately is very catchy.
He knew what he was doing. The man's listen, you dislike Kanye all you want. The man's a genius in terms of marketing and production value. He knew what he was doing when he made that song. Like you know for a fact the most liberal person you know at some point this summer is going to be sitting there at work or school or whatever and just all of a sudden you're to themselves unexpectedly. Like my brother's texting me telling me I'm tapping the rhythm to it on my pen. Everyone has got this song stuck in their head. Everybody, he knew what he was doing. And see, Mia's humming it. It's subconsciously, and that's the thing, is it's going to slide in, and I wonder how many weak-minded people out there are going to start buying into the message of it. Can you get my mic showing on the levels there? Sorry. That's my thing. It's I don't endorse the message, but credit where it's due. He made a catchy song.
Things that I love about Hitler.
If you didn't use that at some point, we were going to have a problem. Talk about expectations on the job here. But he's done. The man is a marketing genius. You're not going to find a better self-promoter than Kanye West. That's all there is to it. Not an endorsement of what he says and does, but it's the facts. You know, it's he somehow, I have a list on my phone I keep track of songs of the summer, right? Everyone's got a song that defines every summer for them. Sometimes it's the same song everybody else had. Sometimes it's a song that was special to me. Sometimes it was a song from a couple of years ago that I just really picked up that summer. I'm not saying this is going to be my song of the summer, but this is going to be the song of the summer for a lot of people out there. That's all I'm saying. And if they just, like I said, if they just would have let him have his mental breakdown, None of this would have happened, yet here we are. Now it's a global phenomenon. Okay, speaking of global phenomenons, does Frontier Airlines fly international? I don't know. But Frontier Airlines, somebody had some issues with their flight over at Frontier Airlines, and they were declined the ability to get onto their plane because they showed up 30 minutes to takeoff. And of course, the employees over at Frontier Airlines conducted themselves with the utmost amount of class. Go ahead and check this video out here.
They made their flight. You didn't. And you think you're gonna check me in. I bet you we won't. Hey?
I paid for a ticket.
And you didn't pay $25 for agent assistant, and you checked in 3 hours later. Hello.
I just said that I.
Get on your flight.
Yeah, I just said that I would pay the $25.
And you thought you was gonna get on your flight. And you thought you was gonna get on your flight. And you thought you was gonna get on your flight. And you thought you was gonna get on your flight.
I literally paid for a ticket. I'm here 30 minutes. I'm here 30 minutes before my flight, and they're not letting me check in.
And you're not getting on your flight.
Because it's a policy. We don't control that.
And you will never fly.
You were about to let me check in. You were about to let me check in, and you decided that you ain't gonna let me check in.
Make me check you in.
You literally work for a company that I bought a plane ticket for. I'm here 30 minutes before the flight.
Can you please leave, sir?
No.
Can you please leave my personal space?
I'm not in your personal space. This is not your personal space.
This is my stationary.
This is not your personal space. You work for a company. This is not your personal space.
We ain't gotta worry about it. We ain't gotta worry about it.
You don't have to worry about it. You're literally not doing your job for a customer that has paid for a plane ticket to get home.
I told you to stop putting the camera on me, sir.
I'm literally here at Frontier. I bought a ticket and they are not letting me check in. For no reason whatsoever.
Well, you said you're never flying the airline again, so we might as well help you out and have you not fly the airline.
I've already bought a ticket. I've literally already bought a ticket, and this is your reaction.
So is part of the cheap ticket deal, it's not just paying for your additional luggage, it's dealing with trash employees as well? Is that kind of how it works? Or is that just an airport thing? Do you know? You fly more than I do. Is that just an airport thing, or how does that work?
I don't know. It might just be an airport thing. Most of the people I encounter, like workers, are absolute assholes.
Especially
not the flight attendants. The flight attendants are nice, but like the front gate people, like TSA people, they're absolutely terrible.
So does that job just attract a low quality of human? Is that what we're figuring out here? Is just because we all know TSA are menaces. Normally, when we go to the airport, I've already started drinking by the time we arrive. So I don't really pay all that much attention to the frontline employees. I just let her deal with them. But the TSA will forever live in my mind. I mean, those people are monsters every time you deal with them. It's like you're slightly above a mall cop, yet you're on this power trip here.
They tried to make me put Poppy, put her through put her through the scanner.
Did they seriously? You can't put a dog through that.
Yeah, because I was carrying her, so you have to put her.
What are you sneaking a bomb in her asshole?
Well, you have to put her case through. So I picked her up because normally they just have me carry her and then like swipe my hands for stuff.
Yeah.
But this one guy tried to make me put her in.
What did you say?
I was just so confused, and then another one came up and was like, "You don't have to do that."
Oh my God. They're so stupid and they're so angry. Quit. Get a new job if it pisses you off so much. I mean, truly, the TSA is worthless, guys. It really is. If you they do audits of the TSA, the federal government does every year, and you can look these numbers up. These guys fail anywhere between 70 and 90% of their audits every single time. I mean, they'll let the auditor will go through and they'll have different things placed in their luggage, suspicious items that are, banned items, like anything like hairspray, just to see if they'll catch it. But sometimes they'll have knives and guns and bombs. They've let auditors pass the security checkpoints with hand grenades in their carry-on baggage. So when you think about this myth that the TSA keeps us safe on planes, no, it's literally because nobody cares enough to attack us. It's too much of a hassle to attack us through the air. That's what it boils down to. The TSA is not keeping anyone safe. All the TSA is doing is putting additional hassle on your trip. What we should do, rather than have the TSA, and I'm going to get on my soapbox here, is we should just require every airport to provide their own private security that's up to a certain standard, because I guarantee you the private sector will do a much better job at securing the skies than the government. The TSA is worthless. It should be abolished. I would love to see all those people lose their jobs because they piss me the fuck off so much. Anyway, that's been Store Brand TMZ.
You're gonna get us put on a no-fly list.
Oh, I know. It's gonna be fucking. We're gonna be going to fly to Vegas in December, and really, sir, step aside. And then I'm gonna go on my rant at the airport. All right, that has been Store Brand TMZ. Stay tuned. We got plenty of stuff coming up for trending this week. All right, before we get into trending this week, I'm going to give a big shout out to our sponsors over at Firecracker Farms, firecracker.farm, not .com, .org, or .net, firecracker.farm, with the promo code BASED, B-A-S-E-D, like the title of the show is going to save you 10% off your order at the checkout on their fantastic product, hot salt. Hot salt comes with a combination of Mediterranean sea salt, scorpion pepper, Carolina Reaper, and, of course, ghost pepper hot salt made from a family farm with love right here in the good old US of A. It goes great on anything. Go get the best seasoning on the market. Firecracker.farm, not .com, .org, or .net, with the promo code BASED, B-A-S-E-D, like the title of the show, to save yourself 10% off your order at the checkout. Go do it now. Support the brands that support this show and support your health, because seasoning beats the hell out of sauces. All right, well, we got a lot to talk about for trending this week. We got the Democratic Party is in turmoil right now. Turmoil. Here's they ran a poll. They asked, who do you think is the face of the Democrat Party? And this is what their voters said. Coming in at first place with 26% is AOC. Tied for first place with 26% is no one. Second place is other with 22%. Third place is Bernie Sanders with 12. Fourth place, Jasmine Crockett, our favorite ratchet representative, with 8%. Fifth place, Kamala Harris with 6%. So the big loser from last November, they still can't figure it out. 6% of them still think she's the go-to. She's the go-to. And then you have your leader, the party leader, is one of the biggest idiots in Congress. Followed by that, you've got a man who's about 1 billion years old in Bernie Sanders. And then you've got Jasmine Crockett, every Walmart customer service front desk employee's absolute nightmare. Those are your leaders. And they're all losing or tied at best to nobody. That's what they got. Go ahead. 2 dipshits and an old man. That's the face of their party. I like nobody. Well, Jasmine Crockett's been in the news because she did an interview and she made a couple of comments here. Go ahead and check this first one out here with Jasmine Crockett, what she had to say about the people who voted differently than her.
And so the thing is this, anybody that did their research voted the right way. The people that had the information, they voted the right way. These are facts. The more educated voters and the voters that went to the legacy media, frankly, they voted the right way. It's the ones that were getting the fake news or the lies. They were the ones that were voting the wrong way.
Yeah, there you go. Keep that level of arrogance up. It's not that people have different perspectives than you. They voted the wrong way. Half the country just got it wrong. That's why you guys keep losing. You still don't get it. People don't like being told. Or people don't like being spoken down to, period. But they certainly don't like being spoken down to by somebody who talks like an absolute idiot, acting as if they're somehow better than them. By the way, that's not how she actually talks. She faked that accent when she got elected in a district that is incredibly poor and has a high African-American population there. That is pandering and it's grifting at its finest. We've played the videos on previous shows. You can go look them up for yourselves. She doesn't talk that way. That is an act. Again, we got to stop fucking electing drama kids to public office in this country. So that's bullshit right there. But yeah, no, keep doing that. Keep pandering. Keep insulting half the country, and then keep losing. please, by all means, nominate this idiot to be president. I'll donate money to her campaign in the primary. I, Caleb Salvatore, 100% support Jasmine Crockett as the 2028 Democratic nominee for president. By all means, make it happen. Guys, I'm sure she's going to do great for you. She had another comment here when being asked who was going to run in 2028, who she thinks is going to get it.
It is this fear that the people within the party, within the primary system, will have about voting for a woman, because every time we voted for a woman, we've lost so far. And I think that that's a natural fear because we just want to win. So there's a lot of people that are like, you know what? Like, let's go find the safest white boy we can find. I mean, I'm just saying.
Those are the callers that we're hearing. We're hearing people.
No, for real.
A white man's got to do it. We're getting those callers.
For real. And to be clear, when we talk about them, I can tell you that there is one specific candidate. I had a donor on the phones with me telling me that all the donors are lining up behind that candidate. So I can tell, and I can tell you it's not a black person nor woman, okay? So like it is, they have, quote unquote, they have chosen. And when I say that,
well, if she's on the phone with donors, that means she's at least looking into running, which I think would be hilarious. Even if that woman, there's no chance in hell they'd let her have the nomination. Nothing to do with her race and everything to do with the fact that she would be a national embarrassment if they put her up on a stage. But she's at least looking into running, and I think that would be great. Great for the party. Just people just seeing that the party is associated with that woman would turn so many independent voters off. It would be fantastic. She mentions every time the country, or every time they nominate a woman, they lose. Well, look at the two women you nominated. You had Hillary Clinton, who was a bona fide sociopath that probably killed people before and absolutely nobody liked. And then you had Kamala Harris, who was the dumbest person to ever run for office in this country for a major party. Those were your two women that ran. So it's not like you had a great track record of qualified and competent women that ran for president over the last 8 years. So I don't think it's much to do with the gender and more to do with the actual individuals. It's crazy when you look at people as individuals rather than just throwing them into little boxes like race and gender. You tend to be able to think critically a little bit better than those who refuse to do that. Now, she mentions it's got to be the safest white boy. Mia, who was the most successful Democrat presidential nominee in this century, in the 2000s? Any idea who that might have been?
No idea.
Not Barack Obama. No, not Barack Obama with his landslide victories back to back. Couldn't be him. No. So yeah, it's almost like it's got nothing to do with race. I love, keep eating yourselves though. Keep eating each other. I love when the left eats itself. That's what they're the snake that continues to eat itself. That's what they do best. Now, there's a couple people that come to mind when she says they have one candidate in mind. The first one there is obviously Newsom. Y'all know how I feel about him. The second one that comes to mind is Pete Buttigieg, specifically because she used the word safe. Now, Pete Buttigieg was a mayor of a small town in Indiana. If Pete Buttigieg wasn't a gay man, he never ascends to national popularity the way he did. They found a gay dude from a red state in a small town and said, this is our fucking mascot now. They made him a presidential candidate when he was no way in hell qualified. By the way, doesn't hurt that he had CIA ties. Might have had something to do with it there. They made him a presidential candidate in the national conversation. Then they gave him the Secretary of Transportation job, for which he also wasn't qualified for. The guy was the definition of DEI, the same way Tim Walz was DEI for quote-unquote straight white males, right? He's not qualified. He also creeps people out. There's just something about the guy is weird. I talked to Monty Scott about that when he was on the air a couple weeks ago. Monty Scott's an independent swing voter, types of people they need to win. He agreed with me. The guy was just creepy and weird. Didn't know what it was. Just something you couldn't put your finger on. Kind of like Tim Walz, Coach Sandusky, Tampon Tim, whatever you want to call him. He's the same way. Pete Buttigieg is not electable in the United States. I'm not saying that no one would vote for a gay president. They wouldn't vote for that gay president, though. The other name that's coming up is J.B. Pritzker. J.B. Pritzker is a billionaire governor of Illinois. By the way, hilarious. They stop hating billionaires when the billionaires are voting and donating to Democratic campaigns. And you bet your fucking ass if they ever got the taxes on billionaires through like they promised, magically, the campaign donors on the left would somehow find some loopholes that would make them immune to these new tax codes. If they might even help write them for all we know. People like Mark Cuban, people like George Soros, people like Bill Gates, people like J.B. Pritzker, who a lot of people think might run for president. Now, do yourselves a favor. If you're on your phone, if you're listening on audio, Google J.B. Pritzker real quick. let me tell you, that guy ain't running for nothing. He's not running for president. Okay, J.B. Pritzker. Now, just because he's not running for president doesn't mean he's not going to walk for president while stopping to catch his breath several times along the way. Maybe we can let J.B. Pritzker ride in a rascal scooter for president, but I promise you he's not running. That doesn't mean his name's not in the national conversation, though. This is what J.B. Pritzker had to say at a at a rally a couple weeks ago. Check this out.
Never before in my life have I called for mass protests, for mobilization, for disruption, but I am now. These Republicans cannot know a moment of peace. They have to understand that we will fight their cruelty with every megaphone and microphone that we have. We must castigate them on the soapbox and then punish them at the ballot box.
That's someone who's throwing his name in the hat. They trotted that idiot out after rampaging against billionaires. By the way, while their billionaire donors were sitting up in the skybox seats while the peons were down in the cheap seats at the DNC back in 2024. And he bragged about how he had more money than Donald Trump. Like the pure hypocrites with absolutely no principles, the Democrats are. The Republicans can never know a moment of peace. That's what he said. And I quote, end quote. Gee, that's a real great way to turn people onto your cause there. People that are already concerned you're a bunch of unhinged, violent lunatics. Let's use language like, and I understand he's talking politically, not physically, but let's use language like that. Never know a moment of peace. Sure, keep that up. Keep trotting idiots like Crockett out. Keep trotting out that violent rhetoric. And watch what happens to you in the midterms. Now, all of this identitarian politics nonsense comes from an Ilhan Omar quote, that was said back in 2018, and it's been resurfaced recently. Ilhan Omar said, and I quote, "I would say our country should be more fearful of white men across our country because they're actually causing most of the deaths within this country." Now, statistically speaking, that is objectively false. Objectively false. Don't make me go into the numbers because I'm going to get taken out of context and called a racist. But when you're going to say things that are objectively false like that, I have no choice. Like we know who commits the majority of the murders in this country, and it ain't people that look like me. Now, I'm not saying that means all black people are criminals or anything ridiculous like that, but the concept that white men are causing most of the deaths in this country is patently false. I can't imagine why they struggle so much with men, specifically young white men. It's not like they demonize them every chance they get. It's not like they built their entire brand and, indoctrinate people in the public school system to hate that group of people. Couldn't imagine, right? Now, that prompted a response from James Carville. James Carville is the political strategist a lot of people credit with getting Bill Clinton reelected back in the 90s. He was also involved in the Kamala Harris campaign where he allegedly threw a fit after the white Dudes for Harris ad that we played and made fun of on this show because it was like a Saturday Night Live sketch. And he referred to the staffers as a bunch of idiots and faggots. Pissed them all off. People were in tears. This is all alleged. And he hasn't denied it, though, from what I understand. But this is what James Carville had to say on Ilhan Omar and her quotes about white men.
Lady, why don't you just get out the Democratic Party? Honestly, start your own movement. All right, let's do the simple math. Probably 69%, I don't know, we could call Jim Gerstein or Jeff Garrett. Roughly 69% of the people going to vote in November, maybe more. Let's do 70 for just round math, are going to be white. Of that, 48%, maybe a little more, are going to be male. So that's roughly, let's just call it 33 1/3% of the entire election. Well, let's just run against them because that's so goddamn smart. All right. So now we're going to have a campaign by the progressive left against white men who vote about 1/3 of everybody that votes in an election. Why don't you, lady, start your own party? And then when it's over, if you want to caucus with the Democrats, fine. We agree with a lot of things that you do, but we don't believe we ought to be running against white men. In fact, we don't think we ought to be running against any gender, any ethnic group, any race, any religion, or anything else. God damn, these people are just helpless. They cannot be helped. There's nothing you can do to help them. They don't want to be helped. And if they had any guts, they'd start their own goddamn political party and get out of ours.
Do you think he thinks they're helpless? They're helpless. They cannot be helped. There's nothing you can do to help them. You really emphasize that they're incapable of receiving help there. The crusty old Southern man. I love it. But he's right. He's 100% right. He's one of the few Democrats that's actually calling a spade and doing it genuinely. I'm not going to consider Gavin Newsom to one of the people who is genuine about their concern in terms of the current direction of the Democratic Party, because Gavin Newsom will just say whatever it takes to get elected. Cenk Uygur from the Young Turks, who we make fun of on this show frequently, he's another one that genuinely points out the concerns of the Democrat Party. And then the other one is Stephen A. Smith, who I don't think is going to run for president. We all like the idea of Stephen A. screaming on the debate stage. Here's the reality, guys. Go look at Stephen A. Smith's YouTube channel. When he talks politics, videos are getting anywhere between 160 to 200,000 views. When he talks sports, 30 to 40,000. I'm not saying he doesn't have genuine concerns about the direction of the country. I'm not saying he doesn't bring up good points. I'm saying he's going to continue to entertain this idea of running for president so long as it brings more views to his YouTube channel, to his podcast, to his radio show, to his show on ESPN. He just signed a massive deal, extension with ESPN. If Stephen A. Smith is the Democrats' last hope, they're fucked, because he ain't leaving that money behind to get that job. That's not going to happen. He'll entertain it because it gets clicks on him. I think his manager probably told him to do it. I would too. I would too. But the left continues to eat their own. David Hogg, the little twink that was involved in the Parkland shooting, if you even believe the story that he was there, it sounds like there were conflicting reports about whether or not he was even present at the Parkland shooting, built a career grifting off his dead classmates to push for gun control. He was elected as a co-vice chair, because that's these idiots. They can't even elect a vice chair. They have to hand out fucking participation trophies for the officer jobs in their own party. Co-vice chair of the Democrat Party earlier in the year. And he promised, he did a no-no, which you're not supposed to do, because as a party official, you're supposed to remain unbiased, even though they were helping Hillary Clinton rig the primary against Bernie Sanders back in 2016. But you're supposed to remain somewhat unbiased. But he promised $20 million to primary incumbent Democrats who didn't agree with his agenda. So that already got him on the shit list. And then this appearance on Bill Maher sealed the deal. Go ahead, check this out.
Right now, what I think happened last election is younger men, they would rather vote for somebody who even if they don't completely agree with, they don't feel judged by, than somebody who they do agree with, that they feel like they have to walk on eggshells around constantly because they're going to be judged or ostracized or excommunicated. And what's interesting about this moment is it feels like the two parties in some senses have flipped, where, Republicans used to be the judgmental assholes in many ways. And since many Democrats, despite us, I would say for most of us coming from the right place of wanting to do the right thing, we've created a culture where we say, well, if you say the wrong thing, you're excommunicated. And that's just not how human beings work. Nobody is perfect, but ultimately what we have to do here is figure out how to bring people back in and work towards the bigger goal of advancing the future of this country and helping young people especially get by so that they're able to focus on their lives and, getting with a young woman or something like that, instead of how are they going to pay their rent, for example, or how are they working their two jobs. Young people should be able to focus on what young people should be focused on, which is how to get laid and how to go and have fun.
David Hogg for president, ladies and gentlemen. Great to see you. We'll see you back here, I'm sure.
Now, Blue Sky, the alternative to Twitter, as I call it, Twitter for pedophiles, lit up. David Hogg is going to be a right-wing podcaster in a few years, so let's move on now. David Hogg impressing Bill Maher is just as much of a rapey red flag as Marianne Williamson impressing Russell Brand. David Hogg has officially lost me. He all but said white boys should allowed to be racist and rapey. He needs to go. David Hogg needs to be removed from his leadership post immediately after these comments. This is totally unacceptable and unbecoming of anyone who claims to represent the Democratic Party. Now, he probably could have used better language as an elected official, but it's hilarious they continue to eat their own. This guy is the symbol of wokeism and progressive insanity, David Hogg is. Yet, as we've said time and time again, when you surround yourself with the mob and you make the mob your target demographic, it is only a matter of time until you step out of line because you're just walking on a floor of trapdoors and you never know when you're on one until you've stepped on it, and the mob inevitably turns on you. In other words, you live by the sword, you die by the sword. This smart guy named Jesus Christ said that once upon a time, and you're seeing that with David Hogg. So when you run with the cancel mob and the progressive woke left, it's only a matter of time until they come for you because they have such absurd standards for your conduct that no one could possibly follow all of them. I mean, you would literally have to be perfect. And for all the bullshit Christians get, you know, we believe in this thing called redemption, in second chances. Hey, we're human. We're going to make mistakes. We're going to continue to make mistakes. But at the end of the day, we can be forgiven for it. The Democrats and the woke idiots don't believe that because they're a cult. That's the difference between a cult and a religion, is the concept of redemption and how it treats its former members, which we saw how they treated former Omaha mayor candidate Mike McDonald. David Hogg was removed. They found he was not properly elected, and they removed him from office. I mean, this is what they do. This is what they do. They don't like you, they will get rid of you. This is the mob. Fortunately, they already did they elect the new co-vice chair? What a fucking joke. A bunch of pussies. Like I said, he probably shouldn't have said going out and getting laid. That's not rapey. He also didn't say young men. He said young people. Going out and getting laid. Again, probably unbecoming, like someone said, of a party official. There's a better way to say that. If I come on here and say it, people agree with me. But everybody's thinking it. I'm sorry, you guys finally found someone who somewhat speaks like a normal human being and you kicked him out. That's what you guys do every time because you eat your own. You'd rather robots like Kamala Harris and creepy weirdos like Tampon Tim Walz be the representatives of your party. By all means. You'd rather ratchet idiots like Jasmine Crockett be your spokespeople. By all means. He's saying what everybody's thinking. Now, I don't think young people should be going out just hooking up left and right. We've all made those mistakes. It is what it is. I don't think they should be doing that, though. As I say, not as I did, right? But that's far more productive than worrying about how you're going to pay your rent or worrying about your second and third jobs. He's right. Those aren't things you should be worrying about. So they finally get someone who has a populist message that resonates with a group of people that they have historically struggled with, especially recently, and they run him out. You're fucked. Continue to drive your party into the ground. I love to see this. I love it. Keep doing it. I don't give a shit at this point. Couldn't care less. All right, next one. Donald Trump signed an executive order lowering the cost of prescription drugs approximately 30 to 80%. And they're still mad at him. The left, they're jumping through hoops to get angry at him for this. I don't know how. This is straight out of their policy. Ro Khanna, he's a very progressive Democrat representative. He wants to codify this as law so the next guy can't come in and reverse this. But the Democrat base is still upset. They're saying Trump is acting like a dictator. I mean, I don't know what you want. Donald Trump could cure cancer with his touch tomorrow and they'd freak out. I don't know what else they can do at this point. I think at this point you just have to ignore these lunatics and go on and do what you're going to do. Because there's literally nothing. You have to come to terms with the fact there is nothing you can do. Nothing to make about 30 to 40% of this country happy. They are gone. They are mentally ill. They belong in an insane asylum. Make asylums great again. Merch is coming soon. There's nothing you can do to make them happy. Now, here's my thing. I'm a free market guy. I am a little skeptical of these prescription drug prices. Just a little bit. By the way, all the people saying that, what happened to Bernie and AOC's Fight the Oligarchy tour? What better way to fight the oligarchy than sticking it to Big Pharma? No, we love Big Pharma. We need to protect. Well, they did that during COVID too, I guess. But I'm a little skeptical of these, right? As a free market guy. Now, to be fair, he's not saying that he's going to place total price controls on them in the U.S. He's just saying, hey, if this is what you're charging people in the Netherlands and Germany and Canada or whatever, this is what you have to charge them in the United States. We are the only country that doesn't negotiate its prescription bills, or it's prescription drugs, the United States. However, I think we need to add the other side of that argument there. While it's true that we're the only country that where the government doesn't negotiate the price of prescription drugs, we also make 40 to 60%, depending on what study you read, 40 to 60% of the medical advancements in the world come out of the United States, despite us only making up 4% of the population. My concern here is when you place price controls on anything, what do? Well, you cap how much profit people can make. And I'm sorry, laws of economics don't change just because the right party's in charge. When you cap the amount of profit people can make on something, you remove the incentive for them to continue to invest in that industry, right? So these investors, believe it or not, they're not all of them, but most of them, they're not investing in these pharmaceuticals out of the goodness of their hearts. They're doing it because it's going to make them a profit. When you remove their incentive to make a profit, they're going to go, hey, you guys were doing good work here. Here's the mouse back. You guys were doing great work here, but at the end of the day, I'm not making any money off of this, or my earnings have been significantly reduced. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go invest in tech or invest in real estate or whatever the case may be. I'm going to find new industries to pour my money into, and all of a sudden medical advancements are going to come to a screeching halt in the United States because you've now just removed the incentive for people to make these breakthroughs, the financial incentive. You may not like it, but that's how it is. It's the laws of economics. We can't just change them when it's convenient to us politically. Okay? So it's just something you need to consider here. This is why I'm hesitant this is why I didn't throw this in on the wins category at the beginning of the show. It's why I'm hesitant to spike the football here and call this some slam dunk victory. Because you do. Well, it may help people in the short term. My question is, what is this going to do to medical advancements in the long term? Are we going to see delays in cancer research? No, what people do is they'll go and ask the government to fund more of that. Well, that doesn't really work. There's so much red tape and bureaucratic bullshit when the government gets involved in these types of things. Well, as we've seen with all the Doge audits and USAID and whatnot, a lot of the money doesn't even make it to where they're saying it's going to go. So unless you want to add even more red tape to oversee and see where this money's going, the best way to do it is through private investment, right? What you can do, I think, here is cut the amount of time someone can patent medical advancements. There's government involvement right there in the market. Government manipulation is the patent industry. Now, I'm not saying you do away with patents entirely, because again, you got to give people incentive, right? So if you patent a prescription drug, a medical breakthrough in this country, you are the only one that can sell that in the United States for 20 years. And then you can actually your company can pull a couple strings legally in certain cases and get an additional 20 years on there. So if you come up with a prescription drug, you can charge whatever you want for it with no competition for anywhere between 20 to 40 years in this country. That's ridiculous. That's why you're seeing such high drug prices. That's got way more to do with the price of drugs in this country, because we see what happens when drugs go into the open market. And you can see competing brands start selling them, and there's alternatives and generic brands. You can get them for pennies on the dollar. That's got more to do with the high cost of prescription drugs in this country than the government being able to negotiate them. So I think maybe 5 years, 10 years, whatever the case may be. Yeah, you should be able to make your money off of it because you put the money into it. You should get a return on your investment, absolutely. But 20 years is a little absurd. 40 years is completely insane. So let's cut that. Let's make it so people can't monopolize it, so competitors can come in, they can offer cheaper prices, and they'll have to lower their price or go out of business. Do that. That lowers the price in literally everything else. When the government gets involved and puts all these restrictions on the market, that's when stuff gets expensive. I'm losing my MAGA listeners when I'm saying this, but you guys, it's the truth. You can sit here and call me whatever you want, but it's the truth. On the flip side, though, all these idiots that celebrated Luigi Mangione shooting that healthcare CEO in the back of the head because Big Pharma's super corrupt are either dead silent about this, Or they're angry. We don't know why they're angry, but they're angry. They're certainly not angry because they're economically literate. They're not skeptical of this executive order for the same reason I am. They're skeptical of it because Orange Man bad. So what that tells you is all the people celebrating Luigi Mangione shooting that guy, it had nothing to do with pharma. That was a convenient vehicle to use as an excuse for them. That was about them having a bloodlust and for anyone who is more successful than them, because it's socialism is the ideology of jealous, bitter, miserable people. And they love to see bad things happen to people who are doing better than them. They just use the unfortunate reality of the American medical system, which, by the way, a lot of the prices jacked up are due to government involvement, not the free market, as an excuse to celebrate somebody who's doing better than them dying. A father and a husband, mind you. Now, before we get into the next segment here, you guys got to see this video of Donald Trump talking about the price of prescription drugs before he signed this executive order. Go ahead.
I mean, I'll tell you a story. A friend of mine who's a businessman, very, very, very top guy. Most of you would have heard of him. A highly neurotic, brilliant businessman, seriously overweight, and he takes the fat shot drug. And he called me up, and he said, President, he calls me, he used to call me Donald, now he calls me President, so that's nice respect. But he's a rough guy, smart guy. Very successful, very rich. I wouldn't even know how we would know this, but because he's got comments. President, could I ask you a question? What? I'm in London, and I just paid for this damn fat drug I take. I said, it's not working. He said, I just paid $88, and in New York I pay $1,300. What the hell is going on?
Oh my god, he's a comedian in another life.
Shit.
He's a comedian in another life. But in another universe, he's a comedian, right? If you believe in that crap. Okay, let's go to the next one here. Ron DeSantis is continuing his crusade against property taxes in the state of Florida. Go ahead and check this video out from a press conference when he was asked about what he thinks we should do with property taxes. Go ahead.
Level ongoing taxpayer.
No, you should own your property free and clear. I think to say that someone that's been in their house for 35 years just has to keep ponying up money, that is not. You don't own your home if that's the case. So yes, of course, I'd like to see people be able to owe free and clear. And it's interesting because it's like
that's enough. So DeSantis is saying right there that once you pay your home off, it's a radical idea, by the way, but he's saying once you pay your home off, you shouldn't owe anyone any money, not just the bank, but the government as well. I mean, think about how insane that is. Especially in Nebraska, where I live, where you've got people literally being taxed out of their homes by a government gone wild. It's insane that someone can work their ass off for 30 years, pay the house off, and then the government can continue to not only tax them, but raise the rate at which their property is taxed at and continue to steal more of their money. It is criminal, dare I say, the way property taxes in this country work. Once you pay your home off, you shouldn't owe another dollar to the government. The only thing you should have to worry about are your insurance and your utilities. And honestly, if you don't want to have homeowners insurance once it's paid off, that's on you. I wouldn't recommend it, but you don't owe the bank. You're just going to have to pay to fix the shit when it breaks. That's up to you. I don't that's fine. Go ahead, do your thing. He's 100% right, though. He's 100% right. Now, the reason he's pushing this is because Florida has a housing crisis. Insurance from all the hurricanes and the price of homes have skyrocketed from everybody moving out of these liberal authoritarian hellholes into the free state of Florida, have caused their home prices to skyrocket. He's trying to ease some of that on homeowners there and encourage their state's population to continue to grow. One of the easy ways to do that is to cut property taxes. Nobody likes paying property taxes, but he's correct. It really is time to stop maybe we need a national bill on this that says once you've paid your home off, your state cannot legally charge you any more property taxes. I personally think that the price you purchase your home at is what you should pay property tax on until you either refinance it, sell it to somebody else, or give it to your kid when you die. That's the rate, or once you pay it off, obviously. then you shouldn't know anything. It's just legalized theft. It's the definition of communism, property taxes are. They really are. Communism is nothing more than the government claiming ownership of private property. If I pay my home off and I don't owe the bank another dime, yet I still have to continue making payments to the government, I don't own my home. The government does. The government has a right to my home. They can take it at any point they want to, the second I don't pay up, much like the mob. Why, though? I can understand owing the bank. The bank, I didn't have $310,000 to sit here and purchase my home in cash. The bank helped me pay for it, right? The government didn't help me pay for my house. Why should I continue to pay them once it's paid off? I don't owe them anything. They made it harder to pay for my house. They made my life more difficult. Why should I pay the government a dime once I paid back the people that actually helped me purchase my home? It's the most retarded thing that we do in this country, your property taxes. The code makes absolutely no sense. It's the biggest scam in the world. If a private company did this, it'd be criminal. I mean, think about this. Name one other item that you continue to pay taxes on after you purchase it, and it's paid off nonetheless. I mean, think about this. Like, what's the last thing we bought? What's the last major thing we purchased? Oh, we got a lawnmower.
House.
Well, no, we just bought a lawnmower. Yeah, house way bigger, but the lawnmower. We just went and bought a lawnmower. It's $400, right? It was like $330, and then it was close to $400 after taxes. I paid the whatever $60 in sales tax right there. Now, imagine that every month for the rest of my life, I have to pay sales tax on that lawnmower. It's insane. Houses are the only thing, for whatever reason, that we have to continue to pay for after we've purchased it. Pay taxes for after we've purchased it. It's a giant scam. If a company did this or a private entity did this, we'd call it racketeering. We'd call it protection schemes. We'd call it mafia, because that's what it is. People belong in prison. It's communism. I'm sick of it. All right, let's go to the next one here. John Fetterman. The knives are out for our favorite senator, John Fetterman.
A big, stupid, ugly ogre.
After this video of him on a plane surface. Go ahead and watch this one.
Is your seatbelt on? Yes, it is. Okay, it needs to be visible for the crew at all times. That's not on. That's not an us thing. That's a federal regulation. So it's okay. It's okay. Okay, it's okay, but it just has to be visible to the crew at all times. It's a federal regulation, so if your seatbelt's on, it just has to be visible. And right now, it's not visible. We have an extender if you'd like that. It'll make it bigger so it can go outside of your sweatshirt. Would that work? So if you want to go to Pittsburgh, it's simple. You have to follow our instructions, or you're going to ask to get off the airplane. We're not asking much. All that happen, like all that needs, we need is to be able to see your seatbelt at all times. I've been flying for 30 years, and I've never experienced this. I'm not sure what's happening. Okay, well, it's a federal regulation, so if I don't make you do it, then I get in trouble, and I don't want to get in trouble because I like my job.
So that was John Fetterman arguing with a flight attendant about whether or not he needs to put on a seatbelt for the plane. He is special, like the rest of us. Now, obviously, we talked when he first got elected, there were concerns about his mental health. He was suffering from depression, which is common for people who suffer strokes, by the way. And I told you a long time ago, they rode this guy, they abused this guy. He should have been spending his time recovering from his stroke rather than running for office, which is incredibly stressful, so I've been told. Yet the Democratic establishment and his wife churned him out to win a seat. It was despicable what they did with him. Well, shortly after that video surfaced, some articles have started to come out attacking Fetterman's mental health, claiming that he is no longer fit to serve in his role. Now, I think these articles had been ready to roll for a while now, and that video, they were just waiting for something like that video to come out so they could jump on this and seize the opportunity. Here's what this one says here. Before long, Fetterman began this is about a meeting with teachers union representatives in Pennsylvania. It says, before long, Fetterman began repeating himself, shouting and questioning why everybody is mad at me. Why does everybody hate me? What did I ever do? Slamming his hands on a desk, according to one person who was briefed on what occurred. If that actually happened, I wish I could have been a fly in that room. As the meeting deteriorated, a staff member moved to end it and ushered the visitors into the hallway, where she broke down crying. Why was she? Whatever. The staffer was comforted by teachers who were themselves rattled by Fetterman's behavior, according to a second person who was briefed separately on the meeting. The interaction at Fetterman's Washington office, described by the Associated Press by the two people, or to the Associated Press by the two people who spoke about it on the condition of anonymity, came the day before New York Magazine published a story in which a former staff and political advisors to Fetterman aired concerns about his mental health. I don't know how much of this I believe. I find it all to be very, very odd timing. Fetterman has, as his brain is healed, become more conservative, as many people do. But Fetterman has made it clear he was not going to be the yes man that they were hoping for when the Democrats elected a brain-dead vegetable to the Senate. As it turns out, he actually thinks for himself, and he's pulled more of that Joe Manchin, Kirsten Sinema role where he acts as a thorn in the side to the Democrat establishment. He's not too easy to whip up into a vote. Now, he is on many things, but not all of them. And they don't like that, because we can't have free expression and minds of our own in the Democrat Party. It is not allowed. You have to fall in line and be a good little robot slave, right? Well, I find it particularly odd that when this guy was in the mental hospital a month after getting elected, nobody cared about his mental health. It wasn't a concern then. I find it odd that when he went on the debate and couldn't string a sentence together, made absolutely no sense, contradicted himself 100 times, nobody cared about his mental health. I find it odd that when he was speaking in the Senate and, again, just mumbled incoherently, nobody was concerned about his mental health. But now that they've identified that he is going to be a problem for them in the long term, in terms of getting their agenda through, all of a sudden we're worried about his mental health. Here's the reality. There probably are concerns about this guy's mental health. There should be. Just like there were with Biden, when they spent the last 4 years lying to you about how he was, and I quote, sharp as a tack, end quote. Mental health with Biden, the same way with Fetterman, all of a sudden became a concern when Biden became an inconvenience to the Democrats. After that debate, it was clear that they could no longer hide his mental state, and they had to make a move. He had to get out of the way. So they ran him out. Some of the stories were probably true, some of them were probably embellished, some of them were probably total bullshit. But they floated all these horrific stories about Biden being totally gone to the media, total 180 from the narrative 3 weeks prior to that, about him being as sharp as a tack, and they ran him out. Why? Because he was a convenience. Because these people don't actually care about mental health. They don't care about you. They don't care about the people that are even representing you, that are working in cogs in the machine. They are merely a means to an end. And they will only pretend to care about your mental health or your physical health or whatever the case may be when it's convenient to them politically, when they can run you out of office because you've become an inconvenience to the end game. And that's what's happening with Fetterman here, and it's a crying shame. And they're going to play with fire here because Pennsylvania is trending red, and Fetterman may be their best shot in 2028 when that Senate seat is up. So go ahead and run him out. You idiots never, ever learn. That's been the common theme today, is the Democrats never learn. By the way, this is a great time to remind our audience, specifically our Canadian listeners, that Pierre Poilievre campaigned like a pussy-bleeding little bitch for the prime minister seat. Okay, let's go to the next one here. Donald Trump has recently sparked some controversy because he decided he's going to let South African farmers into the United States as refugees. Now, of course, all the cries of racism and blah, blah, blah are coming because South African farmers, many of whom are white, are being granted refugee status. Here's what these idiots won't tell you. There are refugees of every race, religion, and culture in the United States. That hasn't changed. The people Donald Trump are deporting are the people who lied about their refugee status, the people who didn't go through all the correct processes, and he sent them back for it. Those are the people getting deported right now. These people, these South African farmers, they're white, yes. they went through the proper processes, so they were allowed to seek asylum in the United States. The same way somebody from Haiti, somebody from South America, somebody from Mexico, somebody from Nigeria would be allowed, regardless of what they look like, to seek asylum in the United States if they go through the proper process and we're allowed to vet them. But these idiots won't tell you that. They just want to make it seem like a racial issue. Now, they're claiming that the white farmers don't need refugee status in the U.S. They're not facing any real oppression over there. Go ahead and play this video of what some of their leaders over in South Africa are saying about the white farmers.
For each one person that is being killed by the taxi industry, will give 5 white people. For every one black person you kill, will give 5 white people. You kill one of us, we'll kill 5 of you. You kill one of us, we'll kill 5 of you. You kill one of us, kill 5 of you. You kill one of us, we'll kill 5 white people. We'll kill the children, we'll kill the women, we'll kill anything.
Yeah, they'll kill the children, they'll kill the women, they'll kill your pets, white people. I can't imagine why white people would want to get out of a situation like that, where that's just acceptable speech in the street by leaders. It's not just him. There's politicians, elected officials, quite literally. I'm not kidding you. You can look these videos up. Going on stage in South Africa, dancing at rallies to songs saying, kill the white people, kill the white farmer, shoot the white people. Mia, if you had high-level elected officials going on stage dancing to songs saying, kill the Native Americans, do you think you might try to get out of the United States?
Maybe.
Might be a decent idea. I mean, people said Donald Trump was Hitler because he had the audacity to go on stage and say violent illegal immigrants should be deported. Yet when these people go on stage and they dance to songs saying, kill white people, it's crickets. And the white people are somehow in the wrong for wanting to get out of that situation. Here's what the South African politicians don't realize, because they're ideological morons. White farmers in South Africa currently produce 95.3% of the corn, 98.7% of the wheat, 97.6% of the cotton, that's a change there. White people producing most of the cotton, 97.2% of the citrus, 99% of the potatoes, 91% of the tomatoes, 97% of the soybean, 96% of the poultry, 66% of the cattle, and 89% of their wool. So if you guys think you can do better without the majority of your agricultural products, by all means, keep running the white people out. Keep running the white farmers out. You know what? When we talk about refugees and immigrants, I don't care what color your skin is. I want people coming to this country that are going to contribute. There are plenty of people, black people from Africa, mind you, that have come across as refugees or immigrants or whatever the case may be, and contributed a great deal to this society. There are plenty of people that have come from South America, from Central America, from Mexico, from Canada, from Haiti, all over Cuba, all over India, and done a great job in terms of contributions to the United States. These farmers, these are the types of people I want here. They're productive, they're hardworking, they're intelligent, and they might even have a little bit of pride of living here. Those are the type, dare I say, I want productive members of our society to be let into the country. Okay, let's go to the next one here. The state of New York has got an interesting way to combat inflation. It might be a little unorthodox, but they've got an interesting way to fight inflation. So inflation, as we know, is when the government prints too much money and it overflows the market and the dollar becomes worth less. So the state of New York, Governor Kathy Hochul, who's up for re-election next year, mind you, decided that she is going to send an inflation refund check for $400 to 8.2 million New Yorkers. So the best way to combat the negative effects of the Biden administration recklessly printing money, and the Trump administration during COVID, by the way, over the last 4 to 5 years, is to print even more, throw even more money into the market. This is like someone trying to drink themselves sober. You know, I mean, I was a horrible alcoholic. Maybe you are sober now, right? You're like, I was a horrible alcoholic and I stopped drinking a couple of years ago, but the doctor said that I've got cirrhosis of the liver because of how badly I abused alcohol in my younger days. You know what I'm going to do to fix my liver? Drink some Jack Daniels. That's what we're doing here. That's how stupid this is. This is what these government policies, this reckless spending, makes absolutely no sense. And they're going to continue to do it, and they're going to refuse to learn. Let's just throw more money into the economy. More money into the economy. Insanity. Okay, let's go to the next one here. Well, California, we kind of covered this here. We've got some, I guess you could say it, okay news. It looks like the bill to make it a felony, and this is a controversial bill, by the way, to make it a felony in the state of California to sell a 16-year-old into sex trafficking might get through after all. Now, this got serious push. Gavin Newsom has stepped in and said, hey, we need to pass this. This is ridiculous. Now, this bill's gotten serious pushback from the Democrats in the California legislature. They said that this is, we can't pass this bill that would make it a felony to sell a 16-year-old into sex slavery because it would, and I quote, disproportionately affect the LGBTQ 4K HD TV community. Can I say something that a lot of you are probably thinking, and maybe you just don't know how to put it into words in a manner that won't get you a whole bunch of social stigma and backlash, but I don't really care. I'm not going to bother to put it into words in a way that won't get me backlash, because at this point, I am whatever you say I am, to quote the Eminem song. If your community is disproportionately affected by a bill that makes it illegal to sell children, makes it a felony to sell children into sex slavery, your community needs to be disproportionately affected. We need to put more of you in jail. I'm not saying we need to put all LGBTQ people in jail. That's not what I'm saying at all. I'm saying the ones who are affected by that need to be put into jail. Mia, how much would a bill like that affect you? Making it a felony to sell a 16-year-old in sex trafficking.
I don't know. Sounds like it'd really take a toll on me.
I know. It ruined my whole business model right now. It wouldn't affect me at all. And there's a lot of gay people out there that it wouldn't. Most gay people it wouldn't affect at all. But the reality is that community, that demographic, the LGBTQ community, does have a higher occurrence of pedophiles. And sorry, I'm not saying that you should be disproportionately affected because you're a member of the LGBTQ community. I'm saying you should be disproportionately affected because you have a disproportionate amount of pedophiles amongst you. And those people should be put away from society in cages where they belong. That's all I'm saying. I don't understand this tribalism with the LGBTQ community. Like, how can you cover up your own? It's not even a cover up, because a cover up implies that you know it's bad. You see this in that community more than anything else, where they just make excuses for the sexual abuse of children. They don't even try to hide it. Like, at least the Catholics, we had the nerve to try to cover it up because we knew it was wrong. No, the LGBTQ community just comes out there like, you wouldn't get it. You don't understand. You're oppressing gay culture when you make... They're like, no! I don't care if you put your dick in a slit or a butthole. I don't care if you're into the scissoring, the cunnilingus, whatever you want to call it. The strap-ons, the butt plugs, the vibrators. I got 10 minutes left till we're at our time for the show. I'm just going to keep naming sex toys. The whips and chains, the handcuffs, the blindfolds, the Sybians. Should I just keep naming sex toys for the rest of the last topic? Should I just keep going? I don't even remember what I was talking about at this point. I don't remember where I was going. I just noticed you were laughing off camera because I was just naming sex toys. What, did I miss any?
Dolls? Is it that?
Oh, the blow-up dolls. The real doll sex robots. the lubes like Selena Gomez and her boyfriend. I don't care what your thing is. If you, I'm going to say the most controversial thing I'm going to say on the air all day today. If you attempt to either purchase or sell a 16-year-old for sex, you should go to jail. Dare I even say, you should be convicted of a felony. Highly controversial. So I don't care if it disproportionately affects you. Stop making excuses for the scumbags amongst you. If it's a part of your culture, it shouldn't be. Fix your fucking culture. I do have one more. I lied. Okay, let's go to this last one here. This is in New Jersey. In New Jersey, we've got some representatives decided to storm an ICE facility. Go ahead, check this out here. That's two of those were elected Democrat representatives LaMonica McIver and Bonnie Watson Coleman out in New Jersey. Shortly after that, the next day, you had a bunch of not priests, faith ministers, they're called, stand in front of the ICE detention facility and block entrance for agents. Go ahead. Lunatics. All right, that's enough. You know, whenever you see, if you want to know if a sect of Christianity's been hijacked by lunatics, whenever you see somebody don one of those garbs with all the like rainbow colors and shit all over it, that's a good indicator right there that that's a heretic that is going to bastardize the Bible in a way that fits their worldview rather than what the Bible actually said. Someone that Pope Leo talked about as de facto atheists, mind you. So they're impeding the ability of federal law enforcement to do their job. Again, that's a felony in polite society. Yet these people have acted like spoiled children for so long. They've been held accountable for absolutely none of their actions for so long. They think they can get away with this. I hope they lock every last one of them in prison. Specifically in the first video, where you had an elected representative assaulting a federal law enforcement agent. Hey, you know how you guys kicked out George Santos because of things you had accused him of doing without any proof? I want to see you guys, spineless, cowardly Republicans specifically, hold these women to that same standard that you held George Santos to. I want to see you do that. They're absolutely losing their mind because of criminal aliens, many of whom are probably violent felons, by the way, or at least known gang member terrorists. They're losing their minds because these people who didn't bother to go through the due process to come into the country are being denied the due process while they're leaving the country. Meanwhile, you've got, this is in New Jersey, a New Jersey high school graduate named Eden Alexander has been held hostage in Gaza for nearly 600 days, yet they haven't said a word about him. Interessante, as the folks that they're deporting might say. Anyway, that's been our show. We'll see you Monday for unsolicited advice. My back's killing me. I'm going to have Mia go walk on it outside of here. Cheat on your taxes, not your spouse, and stay based.